Hello, hello, hello. Um, Hi. It is so good to be here. I am just going live to share with you the fact that we have finished up our Betrayal and Infidelity series over on the Wife Like Me podcast, and you can go and listen to all of the conversations that we had. I am both frustrated and encouraged by these episodes. And so we are all praying that these episodes that you would listen to them, that you would share them with friends because they are sobering and just really helpful for us in marriage. And so I just published our Betrayal and Infidelity recap episode, the very last episode in this series. So you can go listen to that and sort of get the highlights of each episode. But I encourage you to listen to each episode yourself because again, they're each person we interview, Christian counselors, women who've walked through infidelity themselves or betrayal, who they've stepped outside of their marriage, their spouse has stepped outside of their marriage. We have different angles in each episode. And so it's just so helpful to go and listen to each of those. But I share my biggest takeaways from each of those episodes in the recap episode that we just released. So you can go check each of those out. But I also wanted to hop on here and share some of those highlights with you because not everybody knows when the podcast is out. And some people are more visual, like me. I like to be on YouTube a lot or Facebook and watch videos. Anyway, okay, so just wanted to share a few highlights with you here. And then if you want to hear more, you can go check out the podcast. But one of the biggest takeaways from this series for me was Todd White. He's a Christian counselor. He talked about fidelity and how any break in trust is essentially any type of, it is considered a type of infidelity because fidelity is our faithfulness. And when we get married, we promise faithfulness, we vow faithfulness to our spouse. So any type of unfaithfulness, any type of secrecy, hiding, deceit is a type of unfaithfulness or infidelity. So he really opened my mind to understand that infidelity doesn't only mean stepping outside of the marriage, for someone else. It can be any type of any type of deceit. We talked about with Shayla Haller in episode 3 in the series. She really hit on the importance of the process and the season of healing that takes place after there's been a discovery of betrayal. And I see this so often when I'm behind the scenes working with couples is that after there's a discovery of betrayal, whatever it is, big or small or in between, any type of betrayal, it's typical that both the betrayer and the betrayed want to just really quickly move on, right? Like, how long do we have to go? Like, how long do we have to work at this exactly? And I see many couples actually never even get counseling after a betrayal. And so Shayla really dives into the importance of the process, the work, and the time, the intentional work that it takes over a period of time to get healthy. And the importance of both the betrayer and the betrayed getting healthy. If either spouse hijacks that process, shortcuts that process, or just dismisses the process and doesn't really go down that journey, it's really unlikely that the marriage will be fully restored because it hasn't been reconciled. What's been wronged hasn't been fully reconciled and made right. So it's really important that if you or someone who's been in the experience, who's walking through or has walked through the experience of betrayal or infidelity in their marriage, that they actively engage in that process of healing. I loved each of these episodes, but Shannon Guerin, she shared a really, and Tess Scott, episode 4 and episode 5, and episode 6, Stephanie Broersma. all share kind of the same thing at some point in the conversation, which is their marriage was great. Like, there were no red flags in their marriage when the infidelity happened. And I think that that's so crucial that we understand that and we remain sober minded about that fact, because it's easy to think that betrayal or infidelity could happen like when there's something hard going on, or you're just not on the same page, or you've been in a difficult season, which obviously can happen. But for each of these women, infidelity occurred when they were like, there was nothing like, their marriage was fine. It was good. It was actually great. And they were engaged in their faith. They were going to church. They were following Jesus. They were in the word. They were praying. And so I think that it should be very sobering for us to recognize, like, these women were following Jesus. Their marriages were great. There's nothing wrong in their marriage. And yet infidelity happened. And so that really stands up to me too. Specifically, Shannon shares in episode 5 how, and each of them share how subtly it started and how slow it started. But Shannon talks about the process of once someone started giving her attention and giving her compliments, and she didn't stop it right then and there, that the enemy just like completely had her mind. Like, her affection, like how she saw her husband, just completely changed. Like, she no longer wanted to be with her husband. She thought that she would be so much happier with this other man. And so she recognizes in hindsight how much the enemy just completely deceived her once she took those like, she started receiving those compliments, receiving that attention, and did not stop it right away. So I think that's so, again, sobering for us to recognize and just to know how easily it always starts and subtly. And I asked her, if you listen to that episode, in episode 5, I said, Shannon, what do you wish you would have done? And she said, I wish I would have cut it off immediately, stopped it immediately, and went to my husband and told him. And because then that wouldn't have been a part of her story, and all the painful years that they walked through in reconciling, and just the difficult everything that came about after infidelity was so painful. So, and it could have stopped had she had done that. So that really stuck out to me as well. And then I guess you can go and listen to the full episode if you want, but I did want to share 4 things that must be present for a marriage to move forward and be fully healed and reconciled and move into a season, like a brand new, fresh season. These 4 things, in my experience, I've seen time and time again. These are not, I mean, we could add to this. And if you have something to add, please comment and add to this list. But these are just 4 things that I see must be in place for a marriage to move forward after there's been a discovery of betrayal or infidelity. And I talk about these in the recap episode in the series as well that just came out today. But number 1, both spouses must be willing to enter into a season of reconciliation. Both spouses must be willing. If there's one spouse that is not ready to end the relationship with the other person, to cut off all communication, to put safeguards on their devices, to, I don't know, cancel their subscriptions to things or whatever. Like, if one spouse is not fully ready to move into a season of reconciliation, then the marriage, I mean, you're not going to be able to move forward into a season of restoration yet, because one spouse isn't ready. So both spouses have to be willing to move into that season. Then both spouses must be willing to do whatever it takes to move forward. Whatever it takes. And when I'm working with couples, it's important to allow the betrayed spouse to determine what they need from the betrayer to be able to be reconciled. And oftentimes, unfortunately, what makes me so sad is oftentimes the betrayer is unwilling to do those things, all the things. And the heartbreaking part of that is that then I have to, essentially kind of break the news, or it's just so painful because the betrayed spouse then is realizing in those moments that true reconciliation and healing isn't going to be possible right now because their spouse isn't willing to do whatever it takes. And so for a couple to move forward and become fully restored, both spouses have to be willing to do whatever is needed. And I mean, whatever is needed to restore the marriage. Okay. The third thing that is needed to move forward is both spouses must be 100% honest. I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting across from a couple just like this, virtually helping in crisis, and one spouse is clearly not being fully transparent or honest. We can't get anywhere when that's the case. You just can't. And so if you want to move forward in your marriage into a season of actual reconciliation and healing, unfortunately, you cannot make your spouse be honest, but they've got to be honest. You've got to be honest for you to actually move forward and heal, or you just won't. Everybody, both spouses have to be 100% honest for you guys to heal and reconcile. And then the fourth thing that has to be there is that both spouses must feel 100% safe with their spouse. 100% safe. What do I mean when I say that? Each spouse has to, the betrayer as well, both have to feel 100% safe sharing whatever it is they need, they think, they feel, whatever it is they're afraid of, anything at all. Both spouses have to feel safe sharing with their spouse. If there's any unhealthy dynamic going on inside that marriage of any type of abuse, any type of isolation or control or gaslighting or emotional, anything unhealthy, one spouse will not feel safe sharing what it is they need, think, feel, or fear. They will not feel safe to share and therefore will not fully be able to reconcile and heal in that marriage. And so there has to be safety for both spouses to share, both spouses. So, and sometimes you cannot fix that, obviously, yourself. And so there might be a season where one spouse just needs individual counseling to understand, why am I an unsafe place for my spouse? Or why am I not feeling safe with my spouse? What is going on in me, in them, that's contributing to this? Like, what dynamics are they providing in this marriage, and what am I providing? And so it sometimes might take a lot of counseling to get to a place where you feel safe in your marriage, but to be able to be fully authentic with what you need and all the things. So those four things must be present within a couple to be able to move forward and begin the reconciliation process. And again, that process is not one counseling session. And I am so sad, again, to see the couples that think it is, or think that they can handle this on their own or whatever. Problems will continue, whether they are in infidelity or in other areas, if we don't get the healing that is required when there's been a deep sense of betrayal, or any betrayal for that matter. So get counseling, work through your stuff, find a community that you can be open and honest with. And we just need that. We need that. So, again, the link for the podcast, the Why I Feel Like Me podcast, is below. You can go and check out and listen to all of the episodes on this series on betrayal and infidelity. And I just know that you'll find them helpful and fruitful, even if you've never had to experience that. Praise God. Be sober-minded. Shannon Guerin in episode, is it 5? Yes, talks a lot about being on guard and standing firm and ready against the schemes of the enemy. So just so helpful and encouraging. So check those out. I love you. And like I say in this recap episode on the podcast, you haven't seen me here much because I'm so busy behind the scenes doing crisis help with couples. So I miss you all, but I'm here. We are here working hard. And we are just so appreciative. So if you need a Bible, put a comment below and we will send you a Bible, or you can email us with any prayer requests as well at info@awifelikeme.com. Okay, we'll see you soon.